everyone who's first hopping on, this is your first session that you've ever joined with us. Welcome. If you have attended some of these sessions before, welcome back. My name is Jenna, and I support the TDS Health team on our customer engagement team. So if you are a current client, you've probably spent some time with me, whether that's onboarding a product or doing some training. My focus is predominantly supporting clients after purchase. So things like training, onboarding, orientations, utilizing products to the best of their ability. That's usually my focus. So some of you may be sick of my face, and some of you I am excited for you to get sick of my face. But today I wanted to introduce my counterpart today, Andrew, who's a colleague of mine. He'll be supporting on this session, adding in some tidbits from an educator and both, and also a practitioner clinical standpoint. So, Andrew, mind giving a quick introduction of yourself?
Sure, sure, absolutely. Thank you for the brief introduction, Jenna. So, pleasure to meet everyone. I'm very excited to participate today. So, my name is Andrew Yukovich, and I am the clinical product specialist here at TDS Health. I have a clinical nursing and nursing education background, so I'm a pediatric nurse and nurse practitioner, and I've also served as nursing faculty at a couple schools here in upstate New York, as well as a simulation educator and coordinator. So my role is just to support our wonderful customer engagement team and our account executives to make sure that we give our clients everything that we can give in terms of support, in terms of how to integrate these platforms into their curriculum, and how it can best be a value add to your programs.
Awesome. Thanks, Andrew. Well, I'm going to kick us off and get us going. I do want to encourage everyone, if you have questions as we go through, please feel free to use the Q&A in chat to ask questions, to provide feedback. We want this to be conversational and you all to feel like you're part of this discussion and not just us talking at you. So please feel free to utilize that. We'll make some stops here and there for questions. And if we have time at the end, we'll also have some question and discussion time if we have time. This is going to be a short presentation. We've limited it to about a half hour. So it's really meant to be an introduction to the resource. And today that's going to be Neural Consult, one of our newer resources here that we have available at TDS Health. And so this is really meant to give you an idea of what the resource is, some of the different features, some of the different applications, and kind of get your brain going on what we have available. If this is something interesting to you to explore further, or if you want to deep dive into some of the areas, we can absolutely set up some conversations to do that after the fact. That way you can get what you need. But I just want to make sure that people know that this is meant to be an introduction. We're going to pop into a few places. We're going to look at some things. I'm going to have Andrew chime in and kind of give some insight into what he's seen and how this material can be utilized, how it flows within program structure, and how it really can be valuable for you all. So it's going to be a little bit quick. We'll pop between a couple of screens. But like I said, please do not hesitate to ask questions or utilize the chat and Q&A that you have available. So with all of that long-winded introduction, you're probably wondering, what is Neural Consult? You keep saying that. That's going to be what we're talking about. I've seen a few emails. So I'll give you a quick little elevator pitch, and then we'll also hop into some of the areas of the resource. So Neural Consult, very simply put, is going to be a learning platform, and it has a variety of different tools within here that can be utilized. Today, we'll be operating within the platform version that is geared toward those who are in medical school. But this also is applicable for undergraduate nursing students, PA programs, NP programs. A variety of different student groups and faculty groups can utilize this. So just wanted to call that out. And so essentially, we'll be looking at the learning platform that takes your content, utilizes an artificial intelligence and AI component to really personalize a journey for the students and for the faculty. So having the ability to utilize your own material as well as material that the Neural Consult team has put together, and be able to build a pathway for students to go through and utilize that content. And then faculty also to be able to have control and insight into what students are actually utilizing when they're outside of lecture, when they're studying on their own, all of those good things. I'm going to hop between two different screens, and I want to just call that out that I'll be hopping between both kind of a student viewing area and then also an administrative side. So if you see me bouncing back and forth or still within the site, I'm just usually using two different views to kind of give you all an idea of some of the different features and functions. Quick little tidbit about Neural Consult, founded actually by a couple medical students, some in residency now, some finishing up their medical student years. And it's been interesting to work with them on this because they are able to provide a lot of insight from when, as a student, what the drivers were for putting together some of these different features and functions within the platform. To get us started, I want to call out what I just said about uploading your own content and creating a library of content. So on my screen, you're going to see that we are on the Neural Consult demo site. So this is kind of a demo platform that we're utilizing right now. Adjustments would be made if you purchase this, but just for all intents and purposes, we're using a demo version. Up on the top left-hand side, you'll see that we have what's something that's called a file drive. And this is where you have the ability to upload content into the Neural Consult platform. Now, you'll see that I have some shared folders down here, and that's going to be content that has been uploaded, that's been shared across the student users within Neural Consult. So my faculty could have uploaded their lecture notes, they could have uploaded resource material, whatever that is that's been uploaded into Neural Consult, that material can live in here and can be utilized with the different features within the platform. I also can upload my own stuff if I want to throw my class notes in, if I want to throw things that I have put together that I have been creating as something that for me to study with. Those are both options for us to utilize within the platform itself. And you'll notice on our dashboard that we were on in the beginning with this search up here at the top, there's a couple of options down below. And so utilizing that element of uploading our own content, you'll see that we can search across all the sources, whether that's the clinical practice guidelines that are baked into the Neural Consult platform, our own material, medical journal web sources, or the Neural Consult Encyclopedia, which is a newer feature they're currently developing. But I can be selective in there if I just want to search across my own notes. If I just want to be searching for material or creating material based off of the content that I've uploaded or that my faculty has uploaded. And Andrew, I wanted to have you chime in a little bit and speak to why that's important and why that really plays such a huge role in this.
Absolutely. So, for all of the educators, faculty, librarians that we have the pleasure of hosting today, as we all know, sometimes our students are overwhelmed with the vast majority of information that's presented to them during the course of a program. They are taking didactic courses, clinical courses, all of this, and they're trying to synthesize and learn these vast amounts of information. Well, here we are ensuring that they are pulling the information that they learn from institutionally aligned curriculum and documents that you upload and have control over. So it's in the control of the faculty or the institution. They're not going to third-party websites, third-party QBanks, Google searching, for instance, and pulling what could be not credible or inaccurate information and using that to build the foundational knowledge that they need to succeed in their programs. So I really think one of the most wonderful aspects of this is as the institution, you have control of how your students are, what resources they're using to study. They're not going to these separate areas. You're not unaware of where they're accessing the information and the accuracy of that information. Basically, it's an institutionally controlled platform, and students are studying from the materials that all of their expert faculty and wonderful faculty have already given to them, but they are allowed to study and make it a personalized learning journey and find ways that best fit their unique learning styles. And I think that is what's most important. You're still in control of the content and how That content is given to the students and it's given to the students through the Neural Consult platform. But then the students get to personalize that journey and really tailor it to best fit their learning needs, whether it be through creating summaries, as Jenna will get into, creating podcasts, unique flashcards on concepts that they're unfamiliar with or need extra practice on, or even board style exams that fit in alignment with the certification exams that these students are going to have to take. So it really empowers both the faculty to ensure that the faculty don't have to be always worried about where students are pulling information from. And it also empowers the students because it puts them in the driver's seat to really make this a personalized and tailored learning journey for them.
Awesome. Thanks, Andrew. So perfect segue to kind of talking about where now the utilization of this material comes from. And Andrew touched on that a little bit about kind of some of these different areas and ideas of how the product can be utilized, the different features within here. So one way we also like to talk about this is that students are already utilizing AI in their learning on their own. And, we talk about how people are going outside to go look for ways to utilize that. Students are getting familiar with that type of experience utilizing an AI search to generate the material. And then this allows them to utilize that process that they're getting so familiar with, but in this controlled environment where you're actually able to control what that output is versus hoping that ChatGPT generates you something that's going to be in alignment with what you need to understand. So, for example's sake, I will call out that my background is in medical microbiome. So you'll notice that that's a little bit of where I tend to lean on searching. But know that this process and function can be applied to any of the content that you upload. That's just my particular niche and interest. So we talked about uploading your content here. And then one of the first ones I want to utilize is the AI search that we have here. So here is where you can make different searches utilizing the content you have access to. You can go to the AI search over on the left or from your dashboard here. And I can go ahead and throw in anything here. And I wanted to search across just the content that I had uploaded myself. Oops, looks like we're having a little bit of of course, a goofy glitch when I'm presenting. That's always how that goes, right? Let's throw something. Oof, not my favorite when my computer decides to kick out for me. So, Andrew, you want to do me a favor and try a search on your end and tell me if it's me because I hope it is not. But while I'll have Andrew test that, I'll go ahead and give a little bit of a background. So from here, this is where you're able to generate a summary from the content that's been uploaded. So you can, for me, I'm making searches about viral structures, flagella, and it'll generate a little summary for me. Looks like maybe my internet is kicking out or something goofy. So thank you, David. Let's try a quick refresh. And so from there, you can do a search and you have the ability to then have a summary generated for you. And then you can look at that summary that's been pulled up for you, making sure you're all paying attention. So with that search, let's try this again. Perfect. All right, internet, thanks for coming back for me. So I've got my search in here. I did a search of flagella, and you'll see that I'm generated a summary from the content in here. Now, what's interesting from here is over on the right-hand side, you'll see that it has some sources over here. And so this is actually some content that I uploaded in here myself. It's Med Micro at a Glance. It's a textbook I've utilized if I have any Med Micro people in here. I'm sorry, you also probably went through this, but that is one of my resources I used, and it'll actually show me the source where that material was pulled from. And then I can go through and look at the sources in comparison to the summary and the content that's been generated for me. So like we're talking about, students already doing this and utilizing this style of searching and learning. Now we're controlling it to the content that we've either uploaded or the Neural Consult platform content that we're letting them go in and use for searching. Now, in addition to the search, we also have the AI notebook area. And this is the area that Andrew had touched on where you have the ability to put content in and generate podcast and listening activities, using that style if that's something you're interested in. So for example, I threw in a YouTube video that I wanted to have a podcast generated for me. Again, I'm sticking with viruses and bacteria and my kind of niche. So I threw that in here and it generated me a podcast that I can utilize that I can play through. It also pulled out some key topic areas for me. And so again, we can utilize particular material within here that we've uploaded, or we can give it content specifically that we wanted to pull that summary for us to utilize. So a couple of different options to be able to utilize that functionality there. Andrew, questions or any additions at this time?
I would just say that I think one of the great features is the ability to cite whether it's web sources too. So when you can select the web sources in the medical journals, it's searching from PubMed articles. So it's all reputable information and accurate information and research articles. Um, and it's giving you, as Jenna pointed out, the citation and also the link so that your students can also reference that link and then it could be taken to where that information was pulled from. And I think the citable ability of this as well. So it's not just a summary, it's actually it shows that it's reflected in the content that either was your own content or the reputable content that it's pulling from in terms of research articles and PubMed articles, and the encyclopedia as well, which was shown on that AI search feature, is actually you can actually search by system, and it's pulling. You can search by different systems, so lymphatic system, respiratory system, CV. And it's pulling from articles that are associated with 14 medical systems that have access to these documents. So I think that's really important again, is we are still allowing them to use outside documents, but we are restricting what they have access to and making sure that the outside information is still from very reputable sources.
Awesome, thanks, Andrew. And I've pulled up the encyclopedia on my page just so you can see how some of that is categorized in those different areas that Andrew was just touching on. Now, in addition to some of these areas, you'll notice that this is under the Learn section of Neural Console. And Andrew, I will lean on you in a little bit to talk about kind of that student journey because I really enjoy how you put that together. So next is a section underneath over here on the left that has practice. So we've looked at where you can make searches, you can kind of decide how you want to search different content, generate summaries, look at all that material. So if you're learning that material, now we can kind of step into some practice afterward. And so you see that we've got three different options in here. We've got board questions, flashcards, and clinical case hub. So those are three different kind of areas of practice that we can then utilize the content within Neural Consult to do some practice material. The first one being board question hub. So this is going to be like a question generator system for all intents and purposes within this particular section, but we can actually decide what we want to test ourselves on. So you'll see maybe not my best performance in terms of different questions and different quizzes, but we have the ability to generate questions from the content that we have in here. So you see we have some options that we can build out the material in here that we can create. And so if we go to create a new test, you'll see we have a couple of different options for generating a test questions. We've got board questions by topic, so we can generate board style questions specifically. If we want to generate those by topic, we can have generic questions overall. If we want to build questions that aren't necessarily board style questions and more generic question generation, we can do that. Or we can lean into actual generic board style questions, or we can lean into a particular exam that we want to specifically take questions from that we can generate. So we have a couple of different options in here that we can do. We can then pick from different systems that we're able to generate, and then we can pick different topics. So we have the ability to build out different questions depending on what we want, number of questions, and then we can generate those questions for us to take in real time and have the ability to do that. So it can be really prescriptive on the type of questions that we want to generate for ourselves, the type of topics, and how we want to utilize that specifically. We can do all that within right here.
And one thing I would add is I know Jenna had already mentioned that this is the medical experience or the medical learning platform, but it's also can be tailored to your undergraduate pre-licensure nursing students as well as your PA students and your NP students. So they'll have next generation NCLEX style questions built into the platform if you're under the RN profile. They will have eventually ANCC and AANP nurse practitioner questions built in, as well as PANCE questions for your PA students as well. So it can be customized to the scope of practice and the learner and what kind of licensing exam that learner will be taking as they enter the job market.
Awesome. Thanks, Andrew. I'm just showing from in the question generation perspective. So I generated myself 5 questions. You'll see that I have those that have populated here. I can go through, answer those questions, and then I'll get an explanation as to why that's right or wrong, all of those good details. I do also want to point out that you'll notice Glia, she'll populate at different areas within the platform. And Glia is going to be the internal chatbot tool that Neural Consult has. And because we're limited on time, I'm not going to spend too much time on her. But essentially, you have the ability throughout your experience to ask Glia questions to clarify things for you, word things differently, provide more insight or context, and then they will utilize the material that you have to generate that insight for you. So it's a little bit of like a study helper throughout your experience. Um, Andrew, would you kind of
Yeah, and
go
I
with
want to
that?
emphasize that Glia does not give the answers to the students. It's more of a prompt. So think about all the wonderful experience that all of you have as faculty, educators, librarians, and if you were actually there and you would never want to give the student the answer, but you would lead them down hopefully the right path so that they can understand that material themselves with just a little bit of prompting. And that think about Glia in that aspect, and I think that's the most helpful, like high level overview of what it does.
Awesome. Thanks, Andrew. Quickly moving through because again we're short on time and I am 10 for 10 on these webinars of always going right up to the half hour. So I want to keep us moving. So question generation area, that's the experience that you would see in the year. I generated a question, answered. I could move through these questions and get summaries and insight as to why answers are right or wrong as I go. And so I just wanted to show you how that experience looks. Now let's move over to some other areas that we can utilize for practice. We also have what's called the flashcard hub. In here, you have the ability to generate flashcards that you can utilize. Again, similar experience to the question generation when creating a deck of flashcards is you have the ability to be selective with what material you want to utilize to generate that style of flashcard. So having the ability to pick different types of flashcards and whether you want to do like an Anki style deck, true or false, basic question and answer, multiple choice, all of those good things. You can even give insight into how you want those to be focused or customized. So you'll see down here you have, what would you like to customize the flashcards, how you want to do that. You can do all of those things. I'm going to just, for quick sake, show you. I've got some flashcards that I generated. Again, I'm using my medical micro deck that I like. And I've got some true or false, some kind of basic flashcards in here that I've generated for myself, where I can, again, show the answer. I'll get my source. I can ask Glia, as Andrew was talking about, kind of that guided learning experience in there. And then I can assess myself on how I did on these. If I want to suspend it, if I want to do more of that spaced repetition style. So I have the ability to do all that all within this flashcard hub. Last section within the practice is going to be the clinical case hub. And this is where we really go into more of a simulation style where we're simulating an actual experience. And Andrew, I want to have you kind of chime in here specifically because, like I said a little bit earlier, I really enjoy how you talk about the learner experience from introducing those topic areas to the different learning and then the practice areas within here and how that kind of all plays. Would you be able to speak to that a little bit?
Absolutely. So I always think of Neural Consult as a twofold platform. You have your theory, your foundational theory and your learning, and then you have the application. And I think what's really wonderful about Neural Consult is how it bridges the gap from theory to clinical application. Because we all know that our students can study for an exam, they can pass an exam, they can, be quote unquote, book smart. But then how do they actually take that knowledge and actually apply it in a clinical setting when faced with uncertain or unfamiliar clinical diagnoses or trauma situations where they need to react? And how do we actually build up their confidence and their competence so that they know the appropriate interventions to take, and how to actually assess and examine and manage that type of patient, whatever that patient is and whatever they're encountering. And I think what's really amazing about Neural Consult is it gives that student that personalized learning journey where they get to understand the foundational knowledge that you are giving them in their didactic sessions. But not only that, then they actually get to actually apply it in a clinical simulation case in a psychologically safe arena where they are able to make mistakes, understand where their knowledge gaps are, and then redo that simulation as well so that when they encounter that patient in the real clinical setting, they feel confident, they feel prepared, they're less anxious, they're less stressed, and they know exactly how to provide the best care for that patient and ultimately improve patient outcomes. And so I think this platform does a really excellent job of not only ensuring that your students understand that core material that is instrumental to them, but also how best to really implement that knowledge in a clinical setting when they're faced with clinical situations that they may be unfamiliar or uncertain.
Awesome. Thanks, Andrew. So quickly, because we're running up on time, I'm talking about the cases that are available. So these are some of the cases that are within the Neural Consult platform. So you'll see that we've got a variety of different cases in here that can be utilized. There is a full simulation and quick simulation option. Andrew, can you remind me the difference? Because one is styled in one way and the other is a little bit
Yeah.
different.
So in the medical format like this, the full simulation is more like a full OSCE experience. So for those of us that are work in medicine or NPPAs would know that OSCE, objective structured exam for students before are deemed ready to go into the clinical realm and see patients. So it's more of a full case simulation with a subjective component, and that utilizes AI where you're actually speaking to the virtual patient. And then you get taken to a next page where you get presented with the physical exam findings, the vital signs, any diagnostics that you order, those types of things. And then you get taken through prompts for how you would manage this patient, differential diagnosis, um, patient education, those types of things. The Quick Sim is meant to be more focused on how do you just get to the appropriate diagnosis. So it's about a 2 to 5 minute experience where it's more focused so that you're presented with the information more quickly and basically can get to a diagnosis and what's going on with this patient. Basically to help students, if you don't have as much time and you just need to understand what are the appropriate questions to ask, how do I examine this patient, what imaging should I order, how do I best manage them, and you're pressed and compressed for time, that's where you might do the quick sim as opposed to the full OSCE experience.
Awesome. Great. Thank you for that. So, um, I wanted to also call out, so we are looking at the cases that are generated within the Neural Consult system already, but you do also have the ability to create custom cases. And so if you wanted to create cases specifically for your students, you do on the administrative side have the ability to create cases and then also create specialized rubrics that you'd like to utilize with those cases. So this is the case hub of active cases that are in here, but you also have this create case option where you can create from scratch if you want to fill in and manually fill in those fields, or you can upload a file where you have a document of kind of a case idea you have, and then it'll pull case topics from there. You then have the ability to also generate a rubric. So if you've got expectations you have for things that you want to see and how they respond to those cases, you can generate a rubric with different sections to align with what you're expecting to see from a case experience from the students as well.
Yeah.
So just wanted to kind of call out both of those places as well.
I think it's really important. I know we're right up on our time, but it's really important that you can customize your rubrics because, as we all know, in your institutions, you might have existing rubrics that you use to grade students against. You can upload those rubrics. You can also, as we all know, there's overarching competency frameworks that a lot of institutions use, whether it's, EPA is a medical one, for instance, or the AACN Essentials for nursing. You can upload rubrics that align with those competency frameworks, which I think is really important. And one of the things that I think Jenna will touch on here is you can create these cases in mere minutes. So we all know that sometimes it takes a long time to author cases, but here in this platform, you can create these cases in mere minutes. You can make edits and then release it to your students for their practice.
Awesome. Thanks, Jared. Now we are running up on the half hour, so for those who do have to hop off, thank you for attending. We will get a recording out if you have something right at the half hour that you're pressed up to. I do want to open to the group if people have any lingering questions and they have the time and they're on, that want to pop into the chat or Q&A. Please feel free to pop those in there. Um,
One of the questions that came up is, can this platform be integrated with an LMS? And the answer is yes. So the Neural Consult team will they will work with you to integrate an LMS. It's not currently built out right now, but they will work with you to build that out if that is something that is necessary for your program or institution.
Thanks, Andrew. And that actually touches on a really good point. That's another question I get asked quite a bit because I work a lot with um, students and faculty at an onboarding perspective where people are adding material on for content and they want to get trained up. Because as like we talked about, there is elements of uploading your own content and having all these things structured out. The Neural Consult team will work with you on getting that material in, getting things to align with the curriculum, making sure things are designed to work in the way you want. You're able to capture analytics that are in alignment with your needs. You're able to upload the content in a way that makes sense for you and your students. So there's a really custom experience there for you to be able to work alongside their team to make this really work for you, your program, your institution, your group as a whole. So there's a lot of different kind of customization elements, which makes this great, but kind of lengthy explanations, and maybe we'll do some additional calls if people want to dive into those deeper. Um, any other questions, comments, concerns, favorite color, anything that anyone else wants to pop in before we
So we
wrap up?
have a few more questions. How are you
Sure.
addressing licensing issues with users uploading full text articles and ebooks? And a certificate of attendance, asking if some of the individuals can receive a certificate of attendance. Um, I'll let you. So, in terms of the one question, Jenna, if I think this is how NeuroConsult addressed it with the licensing issues. If it's already part of your curriculum and you're using it, you can upload it as part of your institution's curriculum. So there's no like copyright issues, because if your institution is already using something from a textbook or anything like that, it can then, because it's part of your institution, and the only thing that's being uploaded to NeuroConsult is materials from your institution that you already use, that there's no licensing issue with the fact that you're uploading something from, let's say, a third party, because it's already something a third party that your institution uses.
Well, and also to address that a little bit, Neural Consult has some clients that already are utilizing proprietary information to their particular institution. So they are utilizing material that they have generated and published that they wouldn't necessarily want other institutions to use within like the Neural Consult ecosystem. So you can close loop those things to yourself. So again, to Andrew's point, if you're utilizing it in your own curriculum already, this is a closed loop to just you. So your content is for just you that you're using. It's not now becoming in the ether of the Neural Consult available reference tools for everybody else using it. It is a closed loop for your group. So they have actually some clients right now that are utilizing proprietary information for their particular group where their concern was, well, how do we make sure that our stuff doesn't get out? And it's that closed loop environment. So hopefully that helps with that question. Certificate of attendance, I don't know the answer to that, but considering some of the customization options that can be generated, I would expect that something could be utilized to be able to generate, whether that's a like a usage report in that way or something that can actually show those analytics. So we can get some insight on that from them and have them reach out.
I think it was a certificate of attendance for this webinar, I think is what.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, thank you for well,
Yeah.
thank you for
Yeah.
attending, and
Yeah.
we should be able to. We'll have a follow-up go out, so if you need something to show that you attended, we'll be able to generate something for you. Andrew, anything else that's popped in there?
And I don't think so. Just, I think this is pretty much the same question. How are you ensuring privacy, confidentiality, and content copyright? Which is, again, what is being uploaded to the Neural Consult system is specific for your institution and locked down. So no other institution or students or faculty will get access to it. It would only be faculty, students, etc., leadership that are associated with that institution that have an account with Neural Consult. So that is in a way, hopefully that explains that is it's a, a private institutional platform that is specific for each institution that has an account with Neural Consult.
Awesome. And if for those who have some additional questions or want to, touch on that a little bit more, if they want to look into that, we can set up additional sessions with the Neural Consult team to kind of deep dive into those if there's some additional questions you have. So, thank you all for staying on a little bit over the half hour. I have a poor track record of keeping these things on time. But we appreciate the conversation and spending some time to chat today. Andrew, thank you so much for joining and supporting and the insights you've provided. I appreciate that more than you know. For everyone, again, who attended, we will have a follow-up with a recording and some details that'll be going out to you. So you'll see that come through. If this is, again, something of interest to you, please feel free to set up some additional discussions or connect with your rep on those materials. We're happy to, get with you and do all those things. Again, thank you for taking the time. We host these sessions quite regularly, at least about once a month or every other month, whether it's for new products we have coming on, existing products to train and teach you on ways to utilize it. If I do have any Primal Pictures Anatomy TV users, I have a training one coming up next in a couple of weeks, and I'll make sure to get that locked down. On our website, we have an events page that has all of our upcoming events. So if you ever are looking in there, that will show you what we have coming up. But before I ramble too long, I will say thank you and tell everyone to have a great day. And Andrew, again, thanks for joining me.
Thank you all. And it's good to see some familiar names. So I'm really happy to see everyone and to meet new people. And please reach out if you have any questions or concerns, and we would be happy to answer them. So thank you all for your attendance.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye.